G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoy today's episode. Sit back, relax, chug a prawn to the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user Wisehole2842, titled, Am I the asshole for kicking out my pregnant teenage stepdaughter over my cat? I'm at the vet waiting room with my cat, so I'm gonna rush this and edit the grammar later. So I, 35 female, have been with my 45 male fiancé for 3 years now. He has 2 kids, a daughter 22 who's a lovely girl, and another daughter 19 who I'll call Kim for the sake of the post. Kim has always had a bad attitude to everyone, especially me. Now, before anybody assumes, my fiancé had already divorced his ex 2 years before we even met, and his ex is a nice person who I get along with very well. So there is no hate from her end either. Kim is 3 months pregnant and living with us because we have more room for her and the baby. The baby daddy stays sometimes, but he has 2 jobs along with studies, so it's mainly been me who takes care of her. So the main issue today, her boyfriend came over, so my fiancé suggested we let them have the house to themselves and then go for a walk. About 2 hours later, I came home and noticed my cat missing, who Kim hated and wanted me to get rid of. I asked her where he was, and Kim said that she ran out the door, which I knew was bullshit. Whiskey is an elderly cat who wouldn't even go out on the porch if I didn't bring him. So I checked the Ring camera, and as expected, Kim threw Whiskey out and then ran him off. My fiancé tried saying Kim is pregnant, her hormones are all over the place, and pregnancy brain messes with women, and that he was going to bring up getting rid of Whiskey for the baby's sake anyway. I was in tears until I looked over at Kim, who had a smug, satisfied look on her face, and I frickin' lost it. I got up in her face and screamed that she had 1 hour to find my cat, or all of her shit would be in the dumpster, and I was done being her slave. She said she wasn't looking for my stupid cat and back off as she was pregnant. My fiancé told me to calm down and we would look for the cat. I told him no, I would look for my cat, and when I got back, his daughter better be gone. And if he has issues, he could go too because I was sick of dealing with his little bee of a daughter who everyone including her own parents and boyfriends avoids. I didn't wait for them to respond. I did hear her crying though. As you know, I found my cat. He was hiding somewhere in the bushes, and it took 20 long minutes to find him. When I arrived home, they were both in the living room, and my fiancé said that he wanted to talk, but first he said I owed Kim an apology. I told him to F himself, and she better start packing. She's at her boyfriend's family home as far as I know, and my fiancé is not talking to me. In the comments, Between Weeb and Otaku says, Not the asshole. As a cat owner, I salute you. I mean, yeah, you might lose the relationship over this, but from the sounds of it, if this doesn't do it, something else likely will. In all honesty, I'm not someone who likes pets. I've had them in the past, I've cared for them, always make sure they were safe, fed, got proper care and such, but I lack the ability to bond with them. And I support her kicking out the fiancé over this crap. I'm 100% in favor of the cat staying over the people in that house. I'm not into animals really, and I don't think that in some cases someone should choose a pet over a significant other, say the partner is severely allergic, something like that. However, I totally support this. It's not even so much about the cat, but about all the things that kind of behavior shows. If she's willing to do all of that over or to a cat, and the fiancé was in on it, what other shitty and conniving ways will they act when it comes to other things? This entire situation says so much. And even if you're not an animal person, you shouldn't want any ill will to come to an animal. They were willing to hurt a cat, and also by proxy, OP, and it was all plotted. OP should be very cognizant of their own safety when the ex comes for his things, as well as for a period after. These people sound like they have no moral compass and could be dangerous. Emma Lindenham says, Even if the cat was a huge problem, how people treat the things important to you is indicative of how they feel about you. If my partner disrespected my pets, plants, or possessions, we'd be absolutely through because that is not their call to make and it denies my autonomy. As others are saying, it's not even about the cat. Although real talk, to act that way around another living creature that is helpless and dependent is so vile to me. Walk to the Brook says, Not the asshole. Stepdaughter attacked your defenseless cat and got what she deserved. I'm curious if you own the house. OP replies, it's mine. Kick them all out. You deserve better. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Pregnancy hormones do not cause you to be cruel to an elderly pet. That's just vicious entitlement and garden variety meanness. You don't owe her an apology. She should be begging for your forgiveness, and so should your ex-fiancé. But pregnancy hormones are a good excuse coming from the accountability-lacking father of an entitled, spoiled brat. How can he ask the daughter to take responsibility for her actions? It's her mere biology betraying her angelic nature. Sarcasm. I hope OP does not forgive either of them though. They don't deserve it. Honestly, yeah, I'm on board with that one. I don't think that the fiancé has acted rationally in this situation, although in regards to other situations, I feel like this is something that you can talk through, at least to establish whether or not this is a hill for the fiancé to die on or not, and if it is, I don't think that relationship is salvageable. Regardless, I completely agree with OP in this situation. Everything she has done is correct in my point of view. I don't know if you could have approached this situation any smoother than she did without causing an actual, physical altercation at some point. So yeah, my stance to cap this one out is that I don't think OP is the asshole. Nothing they've done here shows them to be an asshole, so not the asshole. Update. I didn't think I'd give one, at least not this soon. So my now ex-fiancé's oldest daughter reached out to me to ask my side. I'll call her Kate. She's an animal lover like myself. Her father asked to stay with her for a few nights because he said that I was having a breakdown over my cat, and he basically made it out to be that the cat escaped, and I went after poor Kim for not trying to catch him given her condition, pregnancy or something like that. Kate is a very smart girl. She can see bullshit from a mile away, and obviously she knows her own sister, so she called Kim to ask her side. Kim was more honest. Basically, her and dad had planned it, as some of you suggested, and the plan was for her baby daddy to take the cat out to a road and dump it, but he wouldn't do it because in Kim's words, he was a pussy. So they got into a fight about it, and Kim, thankfully being lazy, just kicked Whiskey out and ran him out of the yard. Kate told me that the way that Kim's talking about me and Whiskey, even if she doesn't move back in, she'd do something for revenge to Whiskey. So I've decided to listen to Kate, my friends, the vet, his assistant, and everyone here, and I called off the wedding, which is in a few weeks, and broke up with my ex-fiancé by text. I don't give an F if it's immature or cruel. I've told him that I'll box up his stuff for him and leave it for him to collect in a few days. Don't worry about Whiskey. I told my ex to call me when he's coming over, so he'll be locked in a room that's safe, and I'm calling a 24-hour locksmith next. The begging and bullshit promises have already started, but my mind is made up. I'm done being an ATM slave for him and his spoiled bee of a daughter, Kim. Whiskey is fine, by the way, just a little shaken, but he's curled up in my lap, refusing to move. Our next post is by user FallingApartWoman234, titled, "My marriage is falling apart because of my changed lifestyle." I am a 37-year-old woman. I have been married to my husband, 40 male, for 10 years. We have 2 kids together, 7 male and 4 female. I never had any issues in my marriage before. After my son was born, I went into a deep depression. My life was not in the right track anyways. I was stuck in a dead-end, low-paying job. I was handling my boy alone because my husband has to work overtime to feed us. When my daughter came, I made a decision to change myself. I used to drink a lot, and now I'm sober. I haven't touched alcohol in 5 years. I have changed my diet and bad food habits. I go to the gym and do yoga every morning. My sleep has improved. My mood has improved drastically with just some changes. I do not get irritated easily or become helpless. I have also updated my resume and looked for a job that suits me. I make a decent amount of money now. I get compliments from people around me telling me that I look great. I have lost a ton of weight too. I thought my husband would be happy, but he's not. He dislikes that I get compliments from people or when people compliment me in front of him. I didn't see it as a big issue. He used to joke about how people assume he is Adam Sandler who got the hot chick. I used to brush it off as a joke, and then I discovered that he was cheating on me with a coffee shop waitress. I don't think her job title matters, but that girl doesn't seem nice to me. I have looked through some of the chats of her and my husband, and she called me an old hag trying to fit in with the young. She lives with her parents and is a high school dropout. She is only 22 years old. I am devastated. I thought my husband would be happy. Our sex life is better than ever. This affair has been going on for 7 months. Despite me working more hours now, I still do all of my wifely duties. I cook for him, make him his lunch for the office, I initiate sex and intimacy, and now here I am getting a divorce from him. When I confronted him about the affair, he told me being with me is always overbearing. He feels invisible because most people give me attention, and somehow it's my fault. I was obsessed with myself rather than noticing how this is making him feel. He feels small because he has been stuck in the same place as 5 years ago. I don't get it. I never pushed him to follow my lead. I always told him that I loved him no matter what. Why is this happening? I don't want my kids to grow up in a broken family, but I cannot live with him after what he has said and done. I know he is being insecure, but he didn't have to hurt me like this. I know as a single mum, it is tough to survive. People have warned me that my husband could act differently towards me, and they were right. I wish it didn't end like this. In the comments, my name could be Sam says, "This is happening because he knows that you are too good for him. He's making himself feel better by going for a young person earning not great money so he can feel like he's better than her, which is obviously what he used to feel about you until you very loudly proved him wrong." OP replies, "Kinda ironic, isn't it? Marriage is supposed to be for better or for worse. He stayed with me at my worst, but left me at my best. And you're going to be great without him. He'll hate you doing well, but cheating is a deal breaker. I absolutely love the work you've done on yourself. Not drinking and physical health will help your mental health through this. It's a new beginning for you and the kids." OP says, "I wish. Ever since the divorce proceedings started, my mental health has been in shambles. I was so close to drinking again." Mysterious Ad says, "Listen, I say this as an addict. You cannot do that. You are so strong and have overcome so much. You need a therapist ASAP and maybe start going to meetings. Divorce is hard. People change. You grew and your husband regressed. You are so close to a life of light and fulfillment, which your husband is unwilling and unable to create. You will get through this one day at a time, like your sobriety. Every day will get easier, and you will continue to get stronger. You haven't failed, and quite the opposite, as you have just grown to be a better version of yourself. That's the goal, isn't it? The fact that your husband has a victim mindset has nothing to do with you. You are killing it, and I implore you to keep going. You've got this." OK Channel 1682 says, "As a child of divorce, trust me, it's better to grow up with 2 separate parents than having your parents locked in daily battle. Staying together for the kids is a bullshit philosophy that needs to go in the trash." Clexington47 says, "You don't think it's normal to think love is abuse? That physical violence is passion? That pushing people away is protecting them? That their needs matter but yours don't? That waking up in a house full of screaming is the normative? That separations aren't real so your partner leaving is abandonment? That putting on a face that everything is perfect at family events when one of you is abusing the other? That expecting kids to be able to think like adults because you were parentified?" Sarcasm. That's the reality of children who grow up with parents who needed to get divorced but stayed together for the kids. Listen to the post above, it is fact. Lauren Avici says, "I am so sorry he is doing this to you and your family. It's really easy to beat the F out of everyone around you emotionally when you can't bring yourself to face your own bullshit. He feels some type of way for not keeping up with you for the last 5 years, so he cheats and talks shit because changing is hard work, as you know, and facing that fact that you are too lazy to change is even harder." OP says, "Yes, it wasn't an easy journey for me. I wanted to quit in the middle because I was seeing no progress whatsoever. Maybe I should have asked him to go work out with me or encouraged him to leave his job too. Since he was not working overtime, I would have helped him. During my job search, I met a few people online that helped me build a really good resume. I would have done the same for him. I just don't know why he feels like this, like he's falling behind. I tried my best to communicate, but failed." And Perplexed Poppy replies to that, "You didn't fail. You can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. And yeah, honestly, I'll just echo what some of these comments have said. I do think it is in everyone's best interest here to divorce. It is going to be okay. It is better for the kids to grow up with two separate parents that can co-parent amicably than it is to grow up in a family where the parents hate each other, where you're not shown real examples of love. You're not shown a good bond between the two people that are supposed to be keeping things together in the household. It's very counterproductive when those two people are actively tearing each other's lives apart, and then, they keep staying together because it's for your stability, but your world is not stable, so what's going on? And, oh, you're a kid, so you can't really talk about these things because you don't understand the world. But even though as a kid you can obviously see that something is wrong and you want things to change, but because you're a kid, you're not allowed to say anything. I don't know, I just very much applaud OP for leaving him because Jesus Christ, what a messy situation. And I know because I've seen and read and heard from people that have been cheated on in instances like this, and they still don't leave their partner because they want to stay with them for the kids, and I just don't understand that line of thinking. It hurts me deep inside to think of these situations. Anyway guys, what is your take on this situation thus far, and what do you think's going to happen in the update? Update. Hello guys. I want to thank all those people who have supported me and were kind to me. I know people have PM'd me to know how I was doing. I'm doing fine. Yes, there is still pain, but things are moving smoothly. I did get my son and daughter to therapy. My son knows why we are divorcing. He gets angry sometimes and throws a fit. My daughter is too young to understand anything. I just want to know how I can handle this. How can I make my son see that none of this is his fault, but his father's? I do not want to keep anything a secret from my kids because I believe the relationship between a couple affects the kids too. I do want him to have a good relationship with his dad, but I do not want him to take a bad lesson from it. The other day I was watching the movie Family That Prays. I know this is silly, but I had this fear inside me that if my son blames me for the divorce like Andrea blamed her mother because her father left, what if he just turns out to be just like his own father? I cannot control everything that goes on inside his head. I try my best to be there for my son, but the constant fear of losing him is still there. My father came to visit me. He lives in a different city. He knows half-truth. After knowing the full truth, he was very angry. When my ex-husband came to visit our kids, my dad and him got into a huge fight. My dad slapped him. My dad used to be in the army, so my ex-husband is terrified of him. He threatened to call the police, but my dad shouted, "I'm not afraid of a cockroach like you." I told my dad not to make things more complicated than they already are. I'm trying my best to keep my daily routine. Sleeping has been tough, but I do not want to depend on pills. On the bright side, I have a lot of free time in my hands. I realized that half of my chores have been reduced. I know my kids are messy, but there is a huge relief. I do not have to clean crumbs off the table or have rings of water droplets on my coffee table, which annoys me a lot. Things and stuff stay in its place. I started to notice that my husband was the one who made half the mess and I was the one who cleaned it. Last week, I went to the theater with my son and daughter to watch Barbie. We were accompanied by my friend who was also a single mom of two. I felt good wearing the replica of the cowboy costume that Margot Robbie wore, which was my friend's idea. We did have a lot of fun. I'm still trying my best to stay afloat, and I'm not thinking about dating. I do not have the urge to date at the moment. I did get hit on in a few places, but nothing exciting. I'll see you guys later. In the comments, Fishy Fish says, "All I can think of is that line at the end of Crazy Rich Asians. It's not my job to make you feel like a man. I can't make you something you're not." Talk about a guy with self-esteem issues. Jeesh. I call this toxic insecurity, when someone makes their insecurity someone else's problem to solve. Stinstin555 says, "Yep, she handled it much better than I would have. I have two moods, chill versus nuclear. I would have 1. Slapped a stamp on his forehead and written return to sender with a Sharpie while he was asleep. 2. Driven over to her parents' house to let them know that my soon-to-be ex would be showing up later and they needed to get a new key made since their daughter was screwing a married man. 3. hand-delivered a suitcase with his clothes to his place of business, and told the staff I left it with that he's moving in with his 21-year-old affair partner, and 4, sent a nicely wrapped package containing a glitter bomb to his side chick at work with a note that says, "Congrats, he's yours." Play stupid games. The rest for the wicked replies to that. Number 3 is what my old manager did when her husband was screwing a co-worker. Just some heavily pregnant petite lady, she's like 5'2" on a good day, hauling trash bags of clothing into his office building and throwing them into his AP's cubicle while every nosy person watched. Damn, she and I must be related. The rest for the wicked also says, the best part is that the affair partner didn't want his sorry ass, so I have this wonderful mental image of him hauling his garbage bag clothes to some shitty extended stay motel. Bonus, the house was technically hers, that she owned before they were married, and even though we live in a province that considers community and marital property, it was held under a family trust, making them essentially tenants of the trust, so he couldn't touch it in their divorce. Science is my god says, "It's your fault I cheated, it's your fault I felt small, and it's your fault my life sucks." Like, huh? Or just a thought, do better? Also, that note about half the chores says a lot about him as a husband before he got jealous. And Todd Fred says, I went to nursing school with a girl who had a husband like this. The closer she came to graduating, the more he begged her to quit because he was so afraid that she would leave him. A couple of weeks before graduation, he gave her an ultimatum, quit or divorce, and she chose divorce. She's a physician assistant now.